Now, let's talk about integrity and the questions of the rule of law. Just before he left office, there were reports about people that were being killed and dumped at Riella. The count, according to the International Justice Mission, is at 36. No justice has been served on those persons. What do you know about Riella killings?
You know, thanks for asking me that question, because this is the first time ever I'm having a public opportunity to answer that question directly. Because I've been seeing every time people say I'm going to go into public life, people start playing a song with two stanzas, Riella, Ruaraka land, and so on, and you see it repeated over and over again. I've never had an opportunity myself to publicly look the cameras in the face and say this is what it is and so on. When in 2021, the issue of a report was published by a local media about the bodies being pulled out of Riella, just like I saw last week and the week before. For us, we asked the Inspector General of Police, Matiang'I, what was happening at that time. We agreed that the gravity of the situation is such that the DCI himself should go to that place and find out what's happening. The DCI spent some time there with a team from the DCI. When they came back, we asked for an inquest. We demanded an inquest. At the National Security Council, we asked for an inquest. Can we go into this matter and find out what's happening? The DCI and the police told us, fortunately for us, their bodies. Let us get the families to claim the bodies, then we build the stories from there. We open the file, we take statements from the families so that we understand the circumstances under which these people disappeared and the circumstances under which their bodies were found in Riella. By the time we were leaving government, the file was open. It was not closed at that particular time because investigations were going on. And that's why I keep saying every time, what happened with the file? I didn't live with the file. In any case, I would have nothing to do with the file as a cabinet minister. That was a police matter. And our detractors or people who like to make negative claims about this are always, they choose when it is convenient for them to say these things. The police service is independent. When they are doing certain things, it's dependent on the minister at other times. As a minister, I would have nothing with that investigation. I wouldn't even influence it for any particular purposes, as it were. The file was open. We didn't live with the file when we left government. So why don't we close the file and let us take action in the direction in which the investigations are pointing us? Besides, by the way, the best way to deal with this matter, in my view, is to have a public inquest so that all of us role players who were in the security sector at that point in time, we go face the inquest, and I'm ready to go before a magistrate or a judge, whoever it is going to preside over that inquest, and say what I know about it. But you see, the problem is throwing stones of convenience or political opportunity when the time is ripe. Say every time they say, oh, Riella, and so on and so forth. If I was responsible for a crime that was committed by a police officer when I was Minister for Interior, then I'm responsible for all road accidents that took place, when I was Minister for Interior. I'm responsible for all the violence, robbery with violence cases. I'm responsible for all rape cases that happened and so on and so forth. It's just not possible as it were. And even as we are seated here, there could be crimes that are being committed somewhere. Mm-hmm. We are not saying the minister is in charge. When the bodies were traced out there last week, I didn't hear anybody saying Kipchumba Murkomen is dumping bodies at Riella and so on. So the question is, things need to be addressed and dealt with in their proper context. The challenge is that we have very low level of political accountability in our country, where people say just about anything they want to say and get away with it. Right. And when they have no evidence and so on, let's have a public inquest. And I've said, in the security sector, now we are sweeping so much under the carpet. The advice that we used to get from, and I cherish that advice from senior officials in the security sector, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, my former director of intelligence, our director of intelligence, General Kameru, and the others, don't politicize security matters. When it comes to security, this is something that unites everybody, and it's something we need to look at objectively and fairly, as it were. So if there are unresolved matters in the country, let them be investigated in a public and open manner. Right. Bodies were found in Aguadi here. and some lackluster guy was arrested. Then he walked out of a police station from the middle of our capital city, and that is it. I know the capacity of our security forces. I know the capacity of our intelligence forces. You cannot tell me that that guy walked like that into thin air and left. When a terrorist escaped from prison here at Kamiti Maximum Prison when I was Minister for Interior, within 72 hours, we not only had the terrorist back, we had taken all the administrative actions, including firing the Commissioner General of the Prison Service. So there are things that need to be done.
Yet, Dr. Fred, look, you said that the capacity in our security sector is extremely high, that nothing would happen without their knowledge. In fact, you said that goons cannot be planning, or people planning to have goons in protest, and they do not know. Yet, the reports came in January 2022. You left office in, was it October or September 2022 after the new cabinet came in? And at that time, nobody knew what was going on. The bodies were being dumped in Riella.
Sam, let me tell you, my friend, there are investigations that take 7 years or 8 years to complete.
No, I'm saying beforehand, as they were happening, nobody knew that something was happening at Riella.
Well, the CID have collected reports from police officers in the region. Actually, the senior police officers who wrote statements about that particular incident, about what they knew at that point. The reason why action was not concluded, in my view, and we spoke to Kinoti about that matter, is because work was going on to piece together all those bits and pieces of it so that they would find conclusive position on what was going to be done. And that's why the file was not closed. The question is not our knowledge or who knew what was going on at that particular time. Then the officers involved, all of them have been asked to write statements, and I believe they have information on what was going on. That's why I'm asking the question, why can't action be taken?
Okay. Now, Chris Msando was the ACT director at IBC in the lead up to 2017 election. He was killed and his body found late July. What do you know about that?
The incident was reported, and I know it the way you know it, that an official of IBC was killed. And the investigations were going on. We've asked questions several times about the matter. And every time the issue comes up, I keep saying, why don't we have a public inquest on this matter? I don't think that file was closed. The file is available, or it must be somewhere in the DCI. Why can't information be put? If anybody has information of any kind implicating anybody, what stops them from putting the information out? What stops them from taking the information to the law enforcement agencies?
Did you pursue that? Because at that time you were acting Minister Security. From September that year, you became Substantive Cabinet Secretary for Security.
The DCI kept saying, by the way, there are so many of those murders. There is Msando, there is Jacob Juma, later on the one of 2022 of Kenei, and so on. There are those murders. When DCI tells you the file is open, they are looking for information, even the president, even if you are president yourself, there's nothing you can do. Because you see, every time you ask, it's like a bring-up system. Every time you ask the DCI, where are you with this matter? They tell you, we're investigating the matter, we are looking for some people, we have these leads, we are doing this, and so on and so forth. There's nothing you can do. You are not the investigating officer, you are the minister. So the question is, you go by what the Inspector General of Police tells you, with what the DCI tells you. And all these files, we've kept asking questions about them. Where are we with this investigation? We are looking for more information on this matter. We have these leads in this particular direction and so on. What would you do? And you know, by the way, you can't jump the gun and go to the press and say, I'm addressing the press today and say, in any case, what would you be telling the country anyway?
Does that then mean, even the current government, there's nothing much they can do about these murders?
That's why I asked for a public inquest. That's why I'm saying, where investigations need to be hastened, let them be hastened. You know, the challenge is this, Sam. To keep making references or to keep politicizing a matter that is as grave as citizens having died and investigations about how they died is not complete. It's very unfortunate and very frustrating. And anyone of us can use anything to say that kind of thing. I can come up, as I said earlier, I'm concerned about the very low level of accountability. In 2017, I don't know that you were in that press conference, as acting Minister for Interior in OP, when reporters asked me that a senior politician has claimed in Kisumu that we have taken 100 body bags to Kisumu because we intend to kill people. I excused myself from the press conference and called the Inspector General of Police and the DCI and all those people. Everybody told me they don't know anything about it. On the strength of that, I came back to the boardroom and I asked the reporters, do you know anything about this matter yourselves? No, we have just been told because so-and-so said this. I said, I dared them, bring me a video of those 100 body bags from Kisumu that have been taken there by the police and I will resign. To this day, of course, they were never brought. The same senior politician complained the following day that Akano Wino, that time, who used to be the spokesperson of the military, had disappeared. At 11 o'clock, he appeared at a press conference. The politician did not even as much as apologize about what happened and so on. What is going on in the country and in politics, and this is why I'm making reference to these issues, is you can see the low level of accountability. Murder investigations take as long as the investigators are able to. And if we have challenges, for example, in terms of how these issues are going on, we can call on support from other agencies if we need support from other agencies. I frankly don't think we need that support from other agencies. I know the capacity of our government, I know the capacity of our security forces. They can get to the bottom of these things and conclude them. What I'm asking for is that where we have not concluded investigations and things have not been concluded, can they be concluded? Or alternatively, those who are responsible for those actions, let them actually step out and step up and say, this is what it is.
Who should do that? Who should ensure that?
The Inspector General of Police and the DCI. That is their responsibility. It is not politicians. The Inspector General and the DCI, they're the ones who are supposed to come and say, on this particular matter, we have investigated, this is where we are. On this particular issue, we have investigated, this is where we are. But you see, when we use them for political purposes, like when I see politicians commenting liberally on issues, I am not able to understand. You know, when I was Minister for Interior, I went to Parliament. The other day, I was trying to recall, looking for notes from my staff in the ministry that time. I was invited to Parliament about 4 or 5 times on this matter of extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances. Except one incident, when a member of Parliament from the Northeastern Province had done their homework very well, and they gave us names, OB entries, and so on and so forth, and we traced some of these issues and traced them to some of the Al-Shabaab activities in that part of the country and so on. The others, people are just coming and they make allegations. We tried the best we could, and the police tried the best they could. In some cases, you find actually they're just claims.
Okay.
So in this case, instead of making the claims they're making, again, I call, even during this interview, the best way, there is no future without the truth and without being conclusive on some of these matters. Instead of sweeping all these things under the carpet, let us lift the carpet, let's have conclusive investigations on these matters, and let us take action in the direction the investigations will point us. Because accusing you today, accusing me tomorrow, accusing another person the other day will not solve the problem, and it won't go away.
Were you aware of a unit, the current president referred to it as a special service unit of the DCI?
No.
You were not aware?
I was not
because aware. It was indicated that it was actually disbanded, and it was responsible for the killing of 2 Indian nationals just before the election of 2022 and 1 Kenyan. Were you aware of this?
No. I was not aware of it.
So what happens to such kind of information? Because the president took action based on the strength of what I just mentioned.
By the way, let me tell you, the president asked me, the current president, when he was sworn in, I remember, and I don't think he minds me making this revelation here today. At the first briefing meeting on security between me, PS Kibichwa, and myself, he asked that question at that particular time. And I told him what I will tell you today. I don't think it's such privileged information. I was hearing it for the first time from him. And the point is this. You need to understand that the structure or the architecture of the security system is such that the minister, by dint of even the law itself, you cannot be part and parcel of the operations of the police service. Mm-hmm. If there are operational issues happening within the security sector, it's not all operations that you're going to be briefed. I meet people every day, no, not every day, Once in a while I meet a politician here, a politician there, who claims, the minister arrested me during this particular time, and I feel like laughing about it. There's no minister who has powers to arrest you. You're arrested by the police, and the police take action independently because the police service is an independent body, as it were. So there could have happened things. I don't want to pass judgment on certain things. There could have happened certain things in one of the units of the formations of the police service that you would not be aware of, because you're not informed or updated on operational issues on a day-to-day basis unless they are of a national nature and they are of a specific nature that they would draw the attention of the police. Yeah. If, for example, we are tracing a huge drug dealer and this is a matter on the radar screen of the Interpol and so on and so forth, they will brief the minister and then so on. But if it's a matter involving on so many things that otherwise, then how would you work as a minister? Every daily operation of the police you cannot be. I mean, that's the job of the Inspector General of Police and these people. So I am not aware of that.
Okay. So you were not aware about the killing of Zulfikar Ahmad Khan and Mohammed Zaid Sami Kidwai and Nicodemus Monia Mwange.
I read in the papers. And in fact, the other day when I saw the court proceedings going on that is when I read the matter. I read in the papers.
How much does an Interior Cabinet Secretary know while in office?
That would have been an operation. You know what's happening right now, and I don't know whether we are doing the right thing to comment on a matter that is right now before the court, because I used to be advised very much to avoid making sideline comments on matters that are going on in court. And then even matters going on in investigation, I always used to be cautioned about that. You see, as I said, if there is an operation in the country of a national nature that is a threat to national security one way or the other, the minister would know. But you see, if we are seated here, imagine, for example, if you are Minister for Interior, you are seated here the way I'm seated here today, and there's an operation to trace some gang that is involved in robbery with violence in Kwale, and you are seated in your office in Arambe House. The chain that the county police commander in Kwale has got to go through to get you, the minister, to know what is going on, I mean, it's completely unnecessary. Chances are that the county police commander will talk to the regional police commander and they'll work on the operation, unless it becomes a matter of note. A matter of note is that if it is something that has become so grievous in a particular part of the country and it has become a political issue, the minister then is involved in the matter. That's when you pay attention. You know, like now in Mount Elgon, when a gang came up that was raping women, we were told this is a group of people who are coming into the country from Uganda and so on and so forth. And it went on for a very long time. It became a political issue. Members of parliament were raising it out there. MPs were seeing me about it. Then in that case, I'm forced to ask the question, what is going on? Or even actually go there physically. But you see, if, for example, there are smugglers, like now on the border between Uganda and Kenya, oftentimes we have people who smuggle illicit brew and so on and so forth. An operation is going on. Honestly speaking, how can the cabinet minister for Interior be aware of what the county commander in Busia has planned on that particular operation? Why should I know? Why should I be told about that? You're not supposed to be a micromanager. These are people who are capable and they're managing their affairs. So if an incident happens, like now, there's a case where a police officer, maybe, God forbid, shoots, for instance, a tourist in Mombasa, and it's an incident. It will be handled by the police commander in Mombasa and the regional police commander in Coast and so on. But because this is tourism and we are going to be called upon to answer to that particular country, when it comes to the radar screen of the Inspector General, because he has got to go through that radar, and then that chain of command, then the Inspector General will actually inform you, because the matter is likely to come up in cabinet. Your cabinet colleague, Minister of Foreign Affairs, is likely to ask, or the Minister for Tourism is likely to ask that question. Then the Inspector General briefs you and tells you there was an operation in Mombasa of this kind. This is what happened. The person who was shot turns out to be a tourist, a national of this country, and this is what happened, and so on and so forth. But you see, where you are as Minister for Interior every day, you cannot be part of an operation of chasing some people and some foreigners involved in Mombasa who probably engaged in drug trafficking until it becomes an issue that you need to know. You cannot be, as a minister, involved in operational issues of a day-to-day affair.
Okay.